So, this week's Parsha is Parsha Vayelech. Vayelech is a Parsha that's the smallest Parsha in the Torah. Or page? That's a great question. The page is 1094. Now this is the smallest Parsha in the Torah. The sum total of psukim in this Parsha is 30. 30 psukim in the Parsha. One parak Lamed Aleph, chapter 31, 30 psukim, and we're done. Now, maybe you'll be surprised to know that the Shabbat morning service will be so short. Right. Because the reading is so short. And can you imagine if this was your bar mitzvah? What a breeze. Think of it. Wow. Every kid wants that Vayelech bar mitzvah. Me, I had the second largest parsha in the Torah. The parsha will talk about a mitzvah called Hakel and a mitzvah called Ksila Sefer Torah, the writing of the Sefer Torah. We'll talk about it in just a minute. The parsha begins. And Moshe went. Where'd he go? Does it say? And he spoke these words. And he said, I am 120 years old, ben 120 shana anochi, hayom, today. What does that mean today? Today is my birthday. Now we, what? 7th of Adar, right. And we know that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on the same day. Right? And what's the significance of passing away on the same day as you were born?
You fulfilled your purpose.
Right, and you lived full, right. Now, and that's of course Moshe Rabbeinu's life. And for us, the proverbial full lies in the back of my head. I knew it was. Yeah. For us, the proverbial fullness is 120. You can't get more full than 120. And so, Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to take leave of Klal Yisrael. He's still got 2 more parshas to go, Azinu next week, and V'zot HaBracha, which is read at Simchas Torah, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Actually, we will talk about that next Thursday, because next Thursday after Yom Kippur, we will have a class. And we will be able to then go through and finish the entire book of Torah. We'll do Hazinu and V'zot HaBracha all in one shot, which will be a very interesting share. Very few people learn at all the Parsha of V'zos HaBracha, the end. You know why? Because there's no week to prepare for it. Because the whole week is celebrating Sukkot, and at the end of Sukkot you have Simchas Torah. That's when you read V'zos HaBracha. Who has the time to prepare V'zos HaBracha? What's in it and all? So we'll take a quick look at that. For now. So he's 120 years old. Lo uchal od latzeit v'lavo. I can't go out and come in. So how did he go then? In the first pasuk, it says he went somewhere, right? And where's he going when he can't go? Oh, I can't go. Lo uchal latzeit v'lavo. I can't go. I'm not difficulty in it, right? Now, the statement I have difficulty in coming and going is a statement of the elderly. We know for a fact that Moshe Rabbeinu's life was full to the extent that he had full, complete control of his physical faculties and mental faculties till the day he died. Says Rashi, Lo toshash kocho. His strength did not ebb at all. So what does he mean?
He was violent as when he was called.
Right, but why does he say I can't go and I can't come?
He doesn't have permission to do that.
What?
He can't.
He can. Rashi says, and all the commentators back up Rashi, there was nothing missing. Moshe Rabbeinu's eyes were as good as a 20-year-old's. His ears were as good as a 20-year-old. His eyes and ears were better than mine now.
Can't lead them in Israel.
Yeah, he finished his assignment, so it was
Right.
Joshua's.
Right. So the idea he can't come and go doesn't mean he can't. It means he's not permitted to.
He's not permitted.
Right. So what we, of course, learn from here is a very, very significant thing. That there's a time when you gotta quit. You gotta stop. There's a time when you gotta, say that it's time for you to leave that task. And it says, Hashem told me, Lo tavor ta'yarden hazeh, I can't cross the Jordan, which means that I'm not leading you into Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu never saw he saw the Holy Land, never was in the Holy Land ever. And no one ever wanted to be there more than Moshe Rabbeinu. So, who will watch you? Hashem Elokecha, the Lord your God, verse 3, will take care of you. He will destroy all the nations in front of you, and Yoshua will inherit the land. He comes in front of you, and he now is the new leader. I think what's important here to understand. Let's digress from Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's come back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's talk about what Hashem, what he's telling us Hashem is going to do for us. We're moving on to the next shlav, to the next stage. And the next stage is, of course, to go into Eretz Yisrael. We're a different people. People who live abroad in Galut are different and have different experiences than people who live at home in your land. For many, throughout the centuries, for many Jews throughout the centuries, they never really understood. I mean, Israel is such a distant concept, and the exile was so entrenched and so deep. And of course, there wasn't the kind of transportation you have today. A few people thought about ever going to Eretz Yisrael. Now, here's a story of the Ramban. The Ramban, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman, was a contemporary at the same time, nearly, of the Rambam. One Rambam ends with a mem, Ramban ends with an n. Now, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman had this, and was known for an incredible love for Eretz Yisrael. And he took out, in the latter part of his life, after contributing so much writings, so much commentaries, spending a lifetime of teaching, he decided to go to Eretz Yisrael. It took him 2 years to get there. When he got there, of course, he found the land desolate, like it was throughout the centuries until just recently. And it was difficult to eat, difficult to get food, difficult to live like we know today. But he founded a shul called the Bet Knesset Ramban. Now the Bet Knesset Ramban is in the Old City. And most people that I take with me to visit the Old City, I show them the Bet Knesset. The Bet Knesset Ramban was founded in the year 1268 when the Ramban arrived in Eretz Yisrael. Ramban died 2 years later in 1270, but he fulfilled his dream of coming home to Eretz Yisrael. So the idea of living abroad somehow or another through the centuries, people never considered Israel as a reality. I mean, think about the Ramban was unusual. So now you're thinking about people nowadays. We also don't really think much about going to Israel. We do what we do. We're here. We got a job. We got our lives. We got our places of dwelling. We got our families. We do what we do. No one really considers seriously going to Eretz Yisrael. But the question really is, if we understand that as the real homeland, the question arises, what's the source of this in terms of our claiming this land? And the reason that's an important question today is because, of course, we're challenged. We're challenged by the Palestinians, we're challenged by the Arab world, we're challenged by all of Europe, we're challenged by the United Nations. Nobody really wants to recognize the state of Israel. Now, of course, you'll argue, well, in 1948 they recognized the state. Now, today they don't recognize it anymore. What happened? The United Nations has a fickle mind, they change their mind real quick. President Trump put the Embassy of America in Jerusalem. First country in the whole United States, in the whole world, to recognize that Jerusalem is our capital. Frankly, if Jerusalem is in the capital, then how does Israel become a Jewish state altogether? That's the greater question. But they came to a vote in the UN on the matter, and 9 countries supported President Trump. The rest of the world was totally opposed. Anti-Semitism is alive and well and doing just fine. So now the question arises: how do we how do we answer back? How do we answer back? You always have to know how to answer the critics, or answer the opponents, so to speak. How do we answer back? So there are generally 2 modes of thinking of why we're entitled to Israel. One is an historical one. The other one is a safety one. The historical one claims that we are that this land was originally ours. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the children of Israel coming into Israel as they're coming in now on the Yoshua and King David and David HaMelech and the Beis Hamikdash, 1,000 years of flourishing in the land of Israel. The other school of thought says the reason we're entitled to Israel is because after the Holocaust, we needed a homeland. We were so devastated, so beaten, so destroyed that, and there was no country in on this planet sought to help us throughout the entire Holocaust. You talk about a number of 6 million people, you couldn't even count the 6 million. You can't imagine what it means, the kind of massive murder and deaths and executions of men, women, and children and babies. And the question is, and these people, this school of thought says, there must be a country for the Jewish people because no other country will accept them. This way they can save themselves and fight for their own safety and build their own army and defend themselves. So you got to get these 2 schools of thought. Our claim to Israel is historical, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Our claim to Israel is for the safety and protection of our people. So, while this is raging in Israel, this argument, we'll ask to take a vote over here. How many people vote historical? You want to think about it?
Well, you can't have the second one without the first. I mean, you can't claim safety.
Well, no, it's not necessarily so.
Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put this group of people? The natural place for them is because of the history.
That's a good point, except that the suggestion of Uganda and Madagascar were both suggested.
Sure, and then why didn't they work out? Why did they fail?
Well, I'm not sure why. I sense that the Jews didn't want it. The Jews wanted Palestine.
The Jews had already started immigrating there for...
Right. By the time 1948 rolled around, there was 500,000 Jews.
Yeah.
So the question arises, then the Palestinians got a legitimate claim.
Of course not.
They got a legitimate claim. We took over. We took their land. Okay, we know. From one perspective, we know that the Palestinians don't really have a legitimate claim as a national entity because there really is no such entity. The entity of Palestinians was created by Jordan in 1948 and put into refugee camps, treated miserably and so forth, under Jordanian leadership, of which no one screamed and yelled for their rights. Now all of a sudden the Israelis got them because they won that piece of property in the 6-Day War where they lived in those camps. We liberated them and now they want the whole enchilada. I mean, the bottom line is, of course, is that let's for a moment suggest, well, maybe they do have a claim. Let's say, maybe they are a people, and they say it's their land. What is our answer? Is our answer that the land is ours because of history? Is there a land of ours because of the Holocaust? But people are fighting in Israel over these two arguments, and they're saying it's ours historically, and others say it's ours because of the Holocaust. So let's say, okay, I understand that.
Well, it would depend on the faith. I mean, if you believe in the Torah, it has the history. I mean,
okay, right. There's no question, no question that if you're, let's say, a more religious bent, then you would use the Torah, and the Torah would definitely verify the historical claim. But the question is, what's the legitimate claim? So why is there a claim for the Jews in terms of the Holocaust? Because the fact is that there was no one considered Israel or Palestine as a Jewish state until after the Holocaust, when it became apparent of what had happened, and the world felt really guilt, that collective guilt perhaps, or whatever. But the point is that the truth is that neither is a legitimate claim. To displace Palestinians neither is the legitimate claim. You know what the real legitimate claim is? In this passage right here. Here's your claim. Verse 3, the Lord your God will go in front of you. He will destroy the Goyim in front of you, and you will inherit the land under the leadership of Yoshua. What's the Torah saying? The Torah is saying that, and this confirms a Rashi at the beginning of Genesis, the beginning of Parshas. Rashi says, why did the Torah begin with the story of creation? Torah is a law book. It's a book of mitzvahs, 613. Let us start with mitzvahs. Start talking about the Ten Commandments and all the mitzvahs. You got to do this, you got to do that. Talk about the mitzvahs. Not just a history book. A different book. The word Torah itself means instructions. It doesn't mean a biography or history. So why does it start with creation? And the Rashi answers because it teaches a very important lesson. That God created the world. And He created the people. And He created the countries. And He apportioned to which country will go this people, and to which place will go to these people. And He apportioned the land of Israel to the Jews. And He apportioned it to the fact that there were predecessors there in any event. When the Jews finally came into Israel now under the leadership of Joshua, they didn't find open arms. The Palestinians weren't welcoming them, nor the Canaanites. The land had to be fought for. The land, furthermore, had to be conquered. And we had to fight and take away from these people. Did we take away from the Palestinians, or they claim so? Well, maybe we did. But we're supposed to, because God said so. And if they feel they were mistreated, so we claim they're not. We claim that we give them opportunities, but it doesn't matter. If they feel mistreated, it also doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, we did what the Torah is saying. We didn't do it because Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were the historical owners of Israel. The historical owners of Israel were Canaanites long before Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's the land of Canaan, which became Israel. The idea is that Hashem wanted to show His control of the world, and that He's the creator, is that I will determine who will live where and when. And I want the Jews there now, at this point. Up until now, it's been Canaanites. At this point in time, I want Jews in there. And that was Hashem's decision. And that decision remains in force in terms of any further occupation of Israel. If we are to occupy the land, it's because Hashem gave it to us. It's because it's the ruler of the universe who apportioned it to us. Just like He apportioned Australia to the Australians and Spain to the Spaniards. Israel was apportioned to the Jews. End of story. So there's nothing you can do about it. But this teaches us the lesson of why the claim is legitimate. And why even the displacing of the peoples is legitimate. Now, you should treat them nicely. and give them an opportunity to make a living and to dwell in some respectable manner if they want to stay. If they don't, we'll encourage them to leave. And if in fact they think they have a slightest voice of government, that certainly would not come into play. No Arab would ever be elected to the government. Furthermore, the issue of their misbehavior would result in a very simple justice. Boom, you're dead. That's all. So in other words, we have to justify these behaviors and these activities with regards to Israel by virtue of the fact that it's not our historical right, it is our God-given right. Big difference. Big difference. Now we understand this, and we understand the people now make a big transition. And it's almost a similar transition to what we're making now. Nowadays people make aliyah to Israel. What does it mean to go to Israel? It means that you gotta be prepared to make a lot of sacrifices, and you gotta really have this desire for the land, sense its sanctity, and realize God's gift. God gives you a gift that's very holy. It's God's. It's God's land. It's God's holiness that totally overtakes the entire land. So therefore, the people holding on the cusp of Eretz Yisrael have to know the concept of what they're fighting for. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the retiring Ramatkal. He's the retiring chief of staff. And he's got to give the people his last message in terms of Israel. And there's going to be other last messages too, religious ones and political ones, but this one is about the land. And this one is about going into Eretz Yisrael and understanding that I can't go with you, but Yeshua is more than an adequate replacement. Yeah.
So historically, when the Persian Empire went into Israel and then the Romans went into Israel, then God, during those times, decided that you shouldn't have done that.
That's of course. That we explained 2 weeks ago in the Parsha. That those are the curses. That included the worst curse of all, being kicked out.
Yes.
And remember, by the way, about the issue of being kicked out, we've said this a number of times, that the only time in history where a conquering nation kicked out the natives from that country was the Jews in Israel, and it was done twice, and predicted both times. Yeah, right. Well, in other words, what we did, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, their goal was to exile us. That's stupid. It's counterproductive. You'd rather use the local natives as slave manpower to do all the work for you. But instead, they kicked the Jews out. Why? Because Hashem did not allow the Jewish people to stay in the Holy Land. They had violated the land. They had disgraced the land. Our sins were insurmountable. So at that point in time, Mazel Tov. So he's calling to kill you Mazel Tov. And at that particular point in time, the exile was complete, and the exile has lasted, this second last one, for nearly 2,000 years. So now we're ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. And we have to try to transport ourselves to that moment. Close your eyes, take a time trip back to the desert there, sing Moshe Rabbeinu bid his farewell, and Yeshua taking over the new leadership. And you will see that it says over there in the Torah that Hashem will take care of you in verse 4, just like he took care of the other nations, the kings of Sichon and Og, and you should do, and Hashem, in verse 5, will give them in front of you. You will do all the mitzvahs that Hashem has commanded, which is to take it over. 6, be strong, be of courage, do not be afraid. Because God is with you. He is going in front of you. Do not even hesitate, and do not even think twice. So, Moshe gathers everybody together, and calls Yeshua to do so. And he gives him that speech, Chazak ve'amatz, be strong and be of courage, because you will bring yatot avot ha'am hazel haaretz asher nishba. Look at the pasuk, and Hashem will teach. Look at me. The words aren't printed on my face. Because you will take the people into the land, and you will help them settle the land. Verse 8, remember, Hashem is still the main component. Frankly, the only component. Yeshua is only a servant, just like I was. Hashem will go in front of you. He will be with you. Don't be frightened, and don't be hesitant. And Moshe now gathered the people together in verse 9 and wrote the Torah and gave it to the Kohanim who were involved in and who put it into the ark, which is the covenant of Hashem, and all the elders of Israel. Now, Moshe writing the Torah, of course we all know that Moshe wrote it. God dictated, Moshe wrote, word for word. There wasn't a mistake, there wasn't a typo. He was a terrific stenographer, got every word right, every letter right, every pronunciation right, and every message right. Now, he's finishing the Torah, he's giving a finished product. And Moshe says the following in verse 10. This rule shall apply. At the end of 7 years, new mitzvah, one of the last mitzvahs of the Torah. At the end of the sabbatical year, the Shemitah, at the holiday of Sukkot, all of the Jews will be there anyway to appear before Hashem, which is what the mitzvah of Sukkot is all about, right? And just like it is on Pesach and Shavuot as well. And we'll all go to the place where Hashem has chosen. Everybody knows that's the Beit HaMikdash in Yerushalayim. And you will read the Torah in front of all the people and let them hear it in their ears. Verse 12. Hebrew word is hakel, gather. The mitzvah of hakel is the mitzvah of gathering all the people. Men, women, children, converts, everybody. And everyone should hear and learn and come to fear Hashem and observe to do all the Torah. And your children that that are not knowledgeable yet will hear, will learn, will fear Hashem all the days of their lives in the land that Hashem has you crossing over the Jordan for, to inherit. Now, once again, the affirmation of possession of the land. This is a Jewish land, a Jewish country. And for people who have difficulty understanding the notion that the Jewish people are a nation as well as a religion, and are defined by both. Fact of the matter is, if you think about it, the nations of the world are nations that don't necessarily demand a statewide religion. I mean, you can be any religion you want in all other countries. And religions don't require you to live in a certain country. You live anywhere you want and be Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, whatever you want to be. Jews are different. Jews are a religion and a nation, and they go hand in hand. That means, let's say a Jew a person wanted to convert to Judaism and loves the religion, but doesn't really necessarily want to be part of the nation. Sorry, can't do it, because you're half a Jew. Let's say the opposite. I want to be part of the nation, but I don't want to accept the religion. Sorry, we can't help you. So let's say we have these non-Jews that come to Israel and love the land and get into the culture and speak all the slang and go to all the movies and join the army and this, that, and that, and they're Israelis 100%. And they're accepted in Israel and society. Except they're just not Jewish, because they never wanted to adopt the religious discipline, and they never converted. Is that a reality in Israel? Loads of them are like that. Huh? Well, not the majority, but there's loads of a lot of people from Russia. No one could ever ascertain the Russian identity. A lot of people from Ethiopia.
But what about Jews that don't want to Well,
no. But if a person is born Jewish, okay, whatever their faults are, they may be lousy Jews, half Jews, whatever, but they're not necessarily. They're still part of the people. Perhaps not exactly being positively participative in our national experience, but they're still part of the people. But you have people that are actually not Jewish, that are very Israeli, but in fact, the reason they're not Jewish is not because they're not part of the people, they are part of the people. The reason they're not Jewish is because they're not part of the religion. And they don't realize that being part of religion is the same issue. So I had a fellow who came to me here many, many years ago, and he was here for 3 or 4 Shabbases, and he seemed to really fit in real well, and prayed with intent, and with the talit over his head, and so forth. Someone comes to me about 3 or 4 weeks later and says, you better talk to this guy. What's the problem? He says, he's driving on Shabbat. Well, that's a pretty big problem, right? So I go over to the guy and I say, forget what his name was already. He says, I'm talking about a story of 35 years ago. I say to the guy, maybe you don't know that it's forbidden to drive on Shabbat. He said, no, I know. I said, well, maybe you don't know how serious it is. I know how serious it is. Well, maybe you need a place to stay, hospitality, whatever. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I said, well, they're making a big problem here. A Jew is not permitted to drive on Shabbat. And I see you're a Jew with great serious intention. And he says to me, I'm not Jewish. I say, no, you're joking. I never met a lot of non-Jews in those days. Now I met a lot more. But those days I didn't know a lot of Jews. And he said, so I said, what are you doing here then? So he told me the funniest thing. He said to me, the reason I'm here is because I enjoy your religious service. I go to the church, it's boring as heck. It's really dumb. I love it over here. You sing, you dance, you jump, you're up, you're down, you kiss the Torah, you put the Torah back, the Torah. It's wild, it's exciting. There's action in this. There's action in this religion. What did he say? He said there's action in it. I said, okay, you're entitled, you're right. It's a wonderful thing. So I told him, you can't come back. Guy was heartbroken. Mom was heartbroken. He said, why can't I come back? I said, very simple. You're a good-looking guy. And on the other side of the Bechitza, I have good-looking women. I don't want you looking at them. I don't want them looking at you. Because you are not Jewish. You're not part of the people. So as being not part of the people, you're not entitled to our religious experience. You can come as a visitor once, twice. So the guy begs me, he says, can I come back once in a while? So I say to the guy, okay, let's not push it, once in a while. The one day the guy comes back, the wildest day of the year.
Yeah.
The wildest day of the year, Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah, the wildest day of the year. We're jumping, we're flying, swinging from the rafters. I mean, it's wild. He's looking for action, boy. He came to the right place, didn't he? Oh, what action. The Jews are the only nation in the world that's a religion. We're the only religion in the world that's a nation. We are a nation like nations and a religion like religions. We have legitimacy in both camps. But where we are different from everybody else is that we're both. We're connected, interconnected, as a people, as a nation, Am Yisrael, and as a religion. And we got to unsee those two major responsibilities as responsibilities within the scope of what we need to do in order to become a full Jew. And that's why we're saying over here again that Moshe Rabbeinu wants the people to read the Torah, learn the Torah, and make sure that it's a part of your national experience. Now, one of our most national experiences in the land of Israel is the celebration of the 3 pilgrimage festivals. Shalosh Regalim. Everybody knows that Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur is not part of that system. Everybody knows that Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur are personal, introspective, solemn days of great intensity on a personal level. Oh yes, we gather together in the shul, but it's a real personal experience. The national experience for everybody together is Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. Pesach, we celebrate our freedom. Shavuot, we celebrate the giving of the Torah. Sukkot, we celebrate the protection Hashem gave us in the desert. So these experiences, you see, are such that what happens is that we have this national aspect to it as well. And they're two separate systems. Rosh Hashana and Kippur is here, and Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot is here. Sukkot is a little unusual, and maybe we'll spend a moment about Sukkot. Let's talk a little bit about Sukkot. The problem with Sukkot is that the other two holidays are observed on the day that the historical event occurred. The day we left Mitzrayim, the 15th of Nisan, Pesach. The day we received the Torah, the 6th of Sivan, we celebrate Shavuot. But Sukkot, celebrating God's protection of us in the desert, was for 40 long years. There's no specific date on it at all. How do you choose a date like Sukkot? So we understand that the choosing of Sukkot has to do with the fact that Sukkot is not only a part of the 3 pilgrimage festival system, but it's also part of Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur too. By virtue of the fact that it's so close in proximity, 5 days after Yom Kippur, we got into Sukkot. So one argument would say, listen, if you've hit an apex, like Yom Kippur, and you've hit the highest you can go on a spiritual, holy level, you don't want to just go back down to work and just back down to mundaneness. You want to keep it going a little bit. So you keep up a little, have a little Sukkot, you know. We're busy the 5 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, anyway, building the Sukkah and getting our lulav and etrog and our 4 species. And we're involved in mitzvot. Rabbis saying it's highly impossible, nearly impossible, for a person to commit any sins between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Why? You're too busy. Great way to keep people out of trouble. Right? Keep them busy. So, obviously, now comes Sukkot, and we're marching through the streets to the synagogue with our lulav and etrog. Now, let's understand this lulav and etrog. The lulav is tall. The lulav represents the spine of a human being. Big, strong, and tall. You come up and you can demonstrate everybody. Big and tall. He can do it. But you got to feel that way. You got to feel big and tall. And the lulav stands up big and tall. Now we all know that in the story of Purim, Esther was told by Mordechai, approach the king, save us. So she was a little frightened because she said, the king's got this new rule to protect himself. If he extends the staff when you approach him, you can go. If he doesn't, the Secret Service around will kill you. So it's a scary thing to do. And she was a little nervous about that. Of course, Mordechai said, no, don't be a concern. You need to be filled with courage. You're going there for the people and so forth. And of course, the king accepted her. But the notion of a king accepting people by extending his staff is demonstrated by the lulav. That's the king's staff. That means that we just entered the courtroom of Yom Kippur, and Hashem accepted us with favor. A Jew who walks tall with the lulav and Sukkot shows to the world that we were forgiven, that we were inscribed and sealed on Yom Kippur for New Year. Represents a major demonstration of our victory in the courtroom. Now, there is also the etrog that's attached to it. The etrog represents the human heart. The willows represent, there's 2 willows on the left side of the lulav and 3 myrtles on the right. The 2 willows represent the mouth of a person, almost shaped like a mouth, the leaves. And the myrtles, a little thinner, represent the eyes. And of course, what we try to say is that in these 4 species, the whole human being is expressing himself to Hashem as he shakes it all over the place and points it in all directions to demonstrate God is everywhere. Up, down, east, west, north, south. The importance, of course, is to realize that somehow or another, Sukkot is really the celebration of the victory of Yom Kippur. And that's really makes it really exciting. Now, when we talk about Pesach, we call it the Zman Cherutenu. What does that mean in English? The time of our freedom. When we talk about Shavuot, we say Zman Matan Torasenu, the time of the Torah. What do we say about Sukkot? Zman Simchatenu. Wait a second. It's the time of rejoicing, but all the holidays are rejoicing. V'samachta b'chagecha, you shall rejoice in all the holidays. So all of a sudden, Sukkot becomes the unique place of Simcha. There's no other Simcha. The other Pesach, there's no Simcha. There's certainly Simcha on Pesach. And Shavuot, there's certainly Simcha. So why does Sukkot all of a sudden become the time of Simcha? But moreover, the Talmud calls Sukkot. What does the Talmud call Pesach? Pesach. What does the Talmud call Shavuot? Or Atzeret sometimes. Atzeret, which means the conclusion of Pesach. As everybody knows that between Pesach and Shavuot there's these 49 days, that the Omer that connects Pesach to Shavuot. So therefore Shavuot is the closing, or the climax to Pesach. And the word climax in Hebrew is called Atzeret. What is Sukkot called? Chag. I understand that they're all Chagim. Why do you say Chag and assume Sukkot? Why do you say Simcha and assume Sukkot? Chag and Simcha is for all of them. Comes out what we learn from here is that Sukkot is the ultimate Chag and the ultimate Simcha, and the other holidays come off of that and becomes a Chag and becomes a Simcha from Sukkot. That's where Pesach gets it from, and Shavuot gets it from, besides their own historical experience. But the point is that Sukkot has this unique independent concept. And why is it that it should occur in this period of the year when it has no specific date to observe? As we said, Pesach has a date, Shavuot has a date, Sukkot has no date. The answer is Sukkot connects the Yom Kippur to Rosh Hashana. So all of a sudden this holiday that belongs to the 3 pilgrimage festivals, the Shalosh Regalim, in fact, also connects heavily to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as well. Yeah. Oh, that's another idea. Because in fact, Sukkot is the conclusion to Pesach in the sense that if in fact the people left Mitzrayim and wandered the desert, it would have been very futile to have had that magnificent 10 plagues splitting of the sea experience of getting out of Mitzrayim if you're going to die in the desert. Hashem protect you, the Sukkot. So obviously, therefore, there's a parallel. And the parallel, of course, is the same date 6 months apart. It's equidistant. The 15th of Nisan and the 15th of Tishrei. So it connects with the 3 festivals, and it also connects with Rosh Hashanah Kippur as well. That's what you have to add to the mix. If you add that to the mix, then we go and proceed with Sukkot. And we have this prayer in Sukkot, which is really special. It's called Hoshana. What does Hoshana mean? Loshia, which means what? Save us. Save us. Now, the way we do a Hoshana, the way we did it in the Beit HaMikdash, is that there was the big altar, the Mizbeach, and then all the people would take their lulav and the robe, and they would march around it in this big circle, right? Hakafa, right? Now, today we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, so what we do is we take the minhag to take a Sefer Torah from the Aron and stand at the bima with one person holding it, and we'll circle the Torah with the lulav and mesorgim. And in fact, that makes sense because we also have a precedent that says that Achar Chorban Beit HaMikdash Ein LaKodesh Baruch Hu Ela Daled Amud Shel Halacha Bilvad. After the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, that's all God has left is the Torah. So the Torah is our replacement. So we circle around the Torah. We do it once, one big circle, one time around. And that's a different paragraph of Hoshanas. Hoshana will say the first the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth, the sixth day. Comes the seventh day of Sukkot. Now you would argue, if it's parallel to Pesach, so the beginning of Pesach is a Chag, the beginning of Sukkot is a Chag. The end of Pesach is a Chag. The end of Sukkot should be a Chag, but it's not. The end of Sukkot on the seventh day is not a Chag at all. It's Chol HaMoed, continuing. But in its continuous, listen to this. What takes place is, we call it Hoshana Rabbah, the Great Hoshana. What's the Great Hoshana? That's where we're going to go around the Bima 7 times. And we're going to do this thing called the last chance of a new year, begging from Hashem. Even if, let's say, we messed up Yom Kippur, we have Hoshana Rabbah left. So all of a sudden, Sukkot becomes almost the conclusion to Yom Kippur. And we have this third method of knocking out sins. The first method, you got to do this week. That's called go to the ocean. Tashlif. Throw it deep into the ocean. In case some of those sins come back up for whatever reason, we're going to have on Monday night, when we gather together, we're going to have chickens to get them on the chickens. And in case any sins are still left, you're going to take a bunch of willows on Hoshana Rabbah Day and smash them to the ground as a custom of the Nevi'im of the prophets. And that will be the end of all the sins. Now, what's interesting is that Hoshana Rabbah is really a powerful name. And many had a custom. I did it years ago, but I won't do it again. I haven't got the strength. But they would stay up all night. I stay up all night, Shavuot, to speak. But a lot of people do stay up on Hoshana Rabbah night. And it's really. So we were talking about the idea of making a little sukkah gathering, you know. So I was thinking about doing it in Motzei Shabbat. You think it's a good idea?
I would say.
Okay. So everybody's invited on Saturday night, September 29th, to celebrate Hoshana Rabbah in the Sukkah on Motzei Shabbat. And last year we had this absolutely scrumptious, delicious food, and we have beautiful. It was really great. People enjoyed the food and everything, and we had a little simcha, a little music, and a Torah. We had a nice time. Anyway, so that's Hoshana Rabbah. We're going to do it this year again, Hoshana Rabbah. Everyone's invited. Motzei Shabbat, September 29th, because the next day, of course, will be Hoshana Rabbah, and going around 7 times and smashing the you still on the chicken?
I've seen that right
Yeah, she's still on the chicken. We moved beyond the chicken, you know. Look at fixated on the chicken. You know? Now, here's the point: is that on Sukkot, in biblical times, the times of the Beit HaMikdash, Jews would gather in Sukkot, all in Yerushalayim. Big thing to go back to Yerushalayim. Now, as you get to Yerushalayim, celebrating Sukkot, first day is the Chag, next day is Chol HaMoed. If it's Chutz La'aretz, it's 2 days the Chag, but it's not Chutz La'aretz because you're in Eretz Yisrael anyway, and you're in Yerushalayim, and it's all a wonderful time, including the Hoshana Rabbah till the very end. Says the Torah here that you will gather the people together, right? And it says it on in verse 10 that the commandment is every 7 years. This one doesn't happen annually, but it happens every 7 years of Sukkot. At the holiday when the sabbatical year comes in, that is, right at the end of 7 years, at the time of the sabbatical, as the sabbatical is over, the 7th of Shemitah was last year, let's say. Now Shemitah is over, and we're starting the new cycle, the first year, the next 7, on Rosh Hashana. And of course, we celebrate Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And on that Sukkot of the 8th year, You will gather the people together, and everyone will gather. Here you're obligated, men, women, and children, the whole family, everybody together, to hear a great public reading of the Torah. The reading, I believe, was only the 5th book of the Torah, only the Deuteronomy, Dvorah. That was what was read. So the great rabbi or leader, whoever it may be, stood up. I don't know if they had mics in those days, but I didn't imagine how they did it. They must have had some sort of a voice magnification or whatever. But and he would read the entire 5th book of the Torah, all of Dvorah, from the beginning to the end of the parsha, and to the last parsha, the Hosea Bracha, and they would do so in front of the entire family. This became known as a mitzvah called Hakel, which is done, as I said, once every 7 years. The amazing thing about this, of course, is that it represents the overwhelming energy and power of joy that Sukkot generated. It was done once every 7 years, as I say, as the Torah says, of course. It isn't, which makes it even more special. I mean, it could be that it's connected to the sabbatical year in the sense that after the sabbatical year, which people spent a whole year, mostly agriculturally inclined people, or people that were in the farming and so forth, were not doing much farming because it was the sabbatical year. So this is the celebration of that conclusion of that year, which was a year's probably spent in a whole lot more spirituality. And so forth. In any event, this was a great event, particularly for families. I mean, men, women, children, everybody. You're not obligated to bring your little kids to shul, especially if they make noise. That's not what we want to do, right? But here you're obligated to bring all the kiddies. And I don't know, you can bring them candies or whatever you want to do to keep them happy. But you want the kiddies to hear this and experience this. You want them to experience the fullness of all of the people. Hakel. And you want the people to experience all the sense of power that came out of hearing every word of the 5th book of the Torah. Now, why would the 5th book of the Torah be sufficient instead of reading the other 4?
Summary.
Because it's a review of the whole thing, right? I mean, basically everything's compacted into this 5th book. So it had to be a major experience. To the best of our experience, we can only talk about it. Can you imagine what it was like? Now they had parties throughout Sukkot, especially in Chol Hamoed, big parties. They were called Simchat Bet HaShoeva, the festival of drawing water. Now, drawing water is a big thing because this after Sukkot, winter starts, and winter needs rain, and without rain, it's going to be a pretty. A drought, God forbid, can really affect this. It can affect food, affect the whole families. So therefore, we prayed big time on Sukkot for rain. And we have a big prayer for rain even nowadays, right after Sukkot is over on Shmini Atzeret. But throughout the time, in order to beg Hashem for rain, what you do is you do something in some spiritual giving manner to Hashem about the thing you're asking for. You're asking for water? Well, then take the water and pour it all over the Mizbeach, all over the altar, and people are dancing around. The Gemara says, whoever did not see such a party never saw a party in his life. Do you hear that? You think you know how to party? You should have seen the rabbis. How they know. Yes, sir. They were flying. They were dancing. They were jumping. Somersaults, juggling, eating fire. And guess what? Many of you may have seen some of this shtick at Jewish weddings. And if you want to, go on your YouTube, your Google, whatever it is, and check it out. Bang, 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 and you see. I want to see a Hasidic wedding, a religious wedding, Jewish religious wedding. Whoa! Now, of course. Now we had a beautiful wedding for Itai and Abigail, but no one was there really because it was Eretz Israel. But Now, Shai and Trisha want to get married, so everyone's invited. Everyone's invited to the wedding. What did we say? The 23rd, Wednesday, the 22nd? January 22nd, I think it is. Hold the date, everybody. Everyone's invited. January 22nd. Okay. Yeah, so I apologize for being so presumptuous, but
It's okay to FaceTime.
oh, okay. But I can guarantee you'll see a few moves. I didn't see it at all. Where is it? Bring it into the class. We'll show it on a big screen. Anyway, the idea of the party is really the exuberance of the joy. And the exuberance of the joy throughout the Yom Tov, throughout Sukkot, throughout the celebration of the Sukkah itself and being under the protective the flimsy roof of Schach and realizing the protection of Hashem, and the joy is unbounded. But I think the real joy of Simchas Torah, of Sukkot, is the joy of knowing that we are special to Hashem. We emerge with His favor after Yom Kippur. But the interesting thing is that throughout the holiday, we start celebrating with certain sacrifices that for some reason, I don't know why, they diminish in number with the amount of lambs, fasim, that are sacrificed. And I believe it diminishes 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Anybody want to tell me the total? In other words, the first day of Sukkot we bring 13 kvasim, the second day 12, the third day 11 kvasim, 11 lambs, 12, the next day 10, the next day 9, the next day 8, and the last day of Sukkot, the seventh day, we'll bring 7. No one wants to even try the total. Anybody? Don't even try. Without a calculator, you haven't got a chance. Anyway,
69.
What?
69. 69?
70.
7.
70. The total number is 70. We have a basic understanding that the world is made up of 70 nations. And that these 70 lambs represent our prayer for each nation. That we have this special gift that we have been so selected for judgment and a positive level over Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, celebrating about it with our victory, in our victory stick over Sukkot. We want to pray for the nations as well, that they should join us and we have a good year as well. At the end of the seventh day, Sukkot is over. And just like at the end of the seventh day in Pesach is over. Of course, you'll add a day in Flutzlords, but for all intents and purposes, it's over on the seventh day. Now, Hashem then says to the people the following: Kosher olai predatchem. Kosher olai predatchem. Not a chance. Not a chance. Okay. Hashem says, my children, we have been together all this holiday season. It's been something. First we started in Elul with the power of preparation. We marched into Rosh Hashana and heard the shofar and were enthused. And now we're in 10 days of repentance and working hard intensely to become better and to really have a consciousness of God, with the apex, of course, being Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur walks out with an exhilaration. Remember how we end Yom Kippur? We end Yom Kippur. We walk into the last davening of Yom Kippur. You would think, totally exhausted. And the answer is not so. Somehow or another, towards the end of the day, we get this resilient adrenaline. This is wow! One more shot at speaking to God. And we have this extra prayer called Ne'ilah, right? And this prayer is going to say, God, Ne'ilah means to close. God, let us enter before the gates are closed. And so, as we pray the entire Nehillah at the top of our lungs, an entire prayer service which does not have one moment of quiet prayer, total top of your lungs, and on top of that, the ark is open on a continuous level. You come to the end, and as we said, you say the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Power, the declaration of faith. What people said when they were marching into the furnaces of the Holocaust. Then we say 3 times, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto L'Olam V'Layed. And then we say an amazing 3 words. These 3 words are Hashem Hu Elokim. Hashem, you are God. This was stated by the people who watched Eliyahu Navi in a contest with the prophets of Baal, the prophets of idolatry, and his victory, and show that God was the truth, that the fire came down from heaven on his sacrifice and not on theirs. The people all were convinced. God is true, Eliyahu Navi is true, the Lord's idolatry is false. And the statement Hashem Elokim, it comes from the depths of a person's total realization of absolute truth, because they saw it in front of their eyes. They saw what Eliyahu Navi could do that the other prophets couldn't. We do that in Yom Kippur. We figure that at the end of Yom Kippur, either you've sensed it or you haven't. You know what this is all about? It's all about Him. It's all about Hashem. It's all about God. That's what it's all about. Do we sense that? Hashem Elokim 7 times. The shul is rolling and rocking, and the walls are shaking. And the people are screaming at the top of their lungs and weeping and feeling the closeness to the Shekhinah, to the divine presence of Hashem. Got a chance. And at this point, you want to go out. What are you, nuts? What are you, out of your mind? What are you, out of your mind? And so, at that moment, we believe that you're scaling the 7 heavens. As you go up to the 7 heavens, you see, and you feel this closeness to Hashem, which envelops you in a power of spirituality that cannot be duplicated in any other experience in this world. Eventually, the human being cannot sustain it forever, and we come down. And the moment you come down, rather than have a letdown, what we do is we burst into a song and dance. And here are all these fasting, hungry, tired, exhausted people dancing up a storm as if it's a great big party. And that's the truth. That's how we end Yom Kippur, by dancing. L'shana haba Yerushalayim. And that enters you right into Sukkot. Now, so what an experience! I mean, us and God are really getting it together. Elul, Rosh Hashana, 10 days of repentance, Aseret Shmei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, on to Sukkot, on to the celebration of the waters drawing and the juggling and the magic and the excitement and the fires and the pomp and circumstance throughout the Beis Hamikdash. And God says, Bonai, my children, Ikvu imi od yom echad. Stay with me one more day. One more day of partying. But this one is a special one. Because all these days that you've been partying on Sukkot included the nations of the world. And it was nice to welcome them into our celebration. But now, goodbye. Say goodbye to the guests. Bye, guests. Bye, guests. And now it's just us. Me and Hashem. In a total intimacy. And this intimacy is a sense of saying, it's just you and me. So how do we celebrate that, you and me? Well, we celebrate it with a conclusion of the Yontif of the holiday, including the prayer for rain, which is very important. Because now, we really should have prayed for rain at the beginning of Sukkot, but that's really the winter season starting. But we didn't want it because we didn't want rain during Sukkot. We got to ruin the Sukkah. So therefore we delayed now. But remember, Sukkot is over now. There's no sitting in a Sukkah on this 8th day, Shmini Atzeres. It's a new holiday. And it's an atzeret. Just like Shavuot was a conclusion to Pesach, this is a conclusion to Sukkot. And then we add this one more day in Chutz La'aretz, which is done together in Eretz one day called Simchas Torah. As I said, Simchas Torah is the rocking and rollingest day of the year. This guy came from Simchas Torah, boy, you should have seen him walk in. Remember I got my story, I told you about that guy, right? You should have seen him. He came into Simchas Torah and said, whoa, look at this. He tried in his circles, he was dancing around, had a grand old time. God. And it's the biggest day of the year. It's the day when you take the Sifrei Torah out of the ark and you dance with the Torah. And you're one with the Torah, and you're intimate with the Torah. And the joy that emanates, it's awesome. That's just us and Hashem. Kosher olai preidaschem. It's hard for me, says Hashem, to part with you. One more day. Hang on one more day. And that's really the apex of intimacy. That's the closeness of a relationship that's so beautiful and so powerful. And that's really what we have today as a memory of what used to be every 7 years in Sukkot when the whole family's gathered together. And frankly, nowadays in Simchat Torah again, all families gather together. The mom, the dads and the moms, and of course, the Tav, the children. Now, this is the mitzvah, is one of the last, this next to the last mitzvah that the Torah teaches. In other words, the Torah has been teaching mitzvahs ever since, right? Not too many. Bereshis, in the beginning, it was only 3 mitzvahs. That was more of a book of the Genesis, was more of a book of history anyway. But by the time we got into the second book, ever since we're flying high, we got 613 mitzvahs. That's number 612. Hakel at 612. So what's 613? So if you look over here, it says on 1096, verse 19, on the bottom of the page. And now, dramatic. And now, Kisvu lochem et ashira hazos, write for yourselves this song, v'landos b'nei Israel, and teach it to the Jewish people, sima b'it b'fihem, put it in their mouths. What song are we writing? We're writing a document that contains the song. And that's the Torah. The Torah is referred to as a song. Why? Because the song, you see, is when people communicate in a far more spiritual and a far more meaningful manner. The guy goes to the girl and he says, "I love you." Okay, sounds nice. Then he sings a love song. Oh, a love song. Sing it. So we sing songs. We sing the Shira, the song at the Yam Suf, when the Jews were saved from the Egyptians and the sea split and drowned them. We sing the song coming up. The next week's Parsha is going to be called, the song is called Azinu, Shira Sazinu, right? Your Bar Mitzvah. That's right. You must have sang a lot of songs then. No, you probably. And we have this mitzvah to write. It's a positive mitzvah, 613, write a Torah. Now, how many people have ever written a Torah? Oh, okay. What's your question? That's right, you could do that. Also, you could write one letter in the Torah. And that's considered as if you wrote the whole Torah. Why?
That's why.
Why is it considered if you write one letter in the Torah that you've written the entire Torah? You know why? Because if that letter's missing, the Torah is puzzle. It's no good. You can't have a Torah with a missing letter, or even a letter that's cracked.
But you have to have the intention of believing on the Torah, otherwise the whole thing.
Agreed. Appreciate Abigail.
Today you can also, if you can't write a Torah, today it's expensive, you should at least keep.
Right, you should try to get a Torah, try to have a Torah, try to buy a Torah if you can. A lot of people buy Torahs, for instance, or inherit the Torah, for instance. But even then, inheriting the Torah isn't completely a fulfillment of the mitzvah that you have to do on your own in terms of, let's say, providing educational materials. Most people concur that if you want to do this mitzvah today, go to the bookstore and buy books. A Jewish home does not have a library of Sfarim, of books, of holy books, of learning. It's not a Jewish home. It's got to have books. Books for learning. In those days, they had scrolls. Today we have a printing press. Whatever it is, maybe even computers. But nowadays, whatever it is, the fact is that you should have something in your own home. Now, in the old days when the television first came into being, so not everybody owned a TV. So people used to say, someone on the block got a TV, you're rich, special people. You must be loaded or something, and they got a TV. It's true, it was that way. Now, it's his favorite show coming on Thursday. Can we come over? And you come over to someone's house and you share the TV. Now, you could do the same thing with Sfarim. You could walk and say, I don't have the Sefer, can you borrow my Akava? You don't want that. You want to have your own Sefer, your own learning, your own Talmud, your own Mishnah, your own Chumash, your own Sfarim, your own books. That's what you want. You see? And this mitzvah is the mitzvah of possessing the Torah, having the Torah, writing the Torah, using the Torah, learning from the Torah, and being committed, majorly committed to its precepts, to its teachings, and to its observance. That works right in Mitzvah 612. Because in Mitzvah 612, what were you doing? You were reading the entire Torah for the people. Mitzvah 613 says, go home and get one for yourself. Go home and get one for yourself. Get your own books. Get your own bookshelves. Make a Jewish home for yourself. Make sure that you've got a personal stake in this. It's not just a community thing. People come to the synagogue, they daven, they may hear the Torah reading, and they go and forget all about it. Hey, wait a second. What about davening at home if you can't make it to the shul? What about taking care of all your other religious necessities and your personal home, including your mezuzah, including having the Torah, including having the Sfarim and the books that you need to make sure that you can learn at night when you have a few free moments. That's the whole idea of personalizing the religious experience. The religious experience of Sukkot is a powerful one on a communal level. Simchas Torah. Oh, I can tell you from my earliest recollections as a child, since I was 10, we looked forward to Simchas Torah like it was like the most exciting moments of the year. And I have some of my most fondest memories from Simchas Torah experiences. I'm sure you do as well. Moments of utter joy, people just gathering and dancing and singing and fellowship. My father's custom at Simchas Torah was, a blessed memory, used to go, whenever, we had also hakafot, circling around, also 7 times. But instead of circling like Sukkot with the lulav, we're circling with the Torah. My father would go over to, let's say there was 10 Torahs in the shul. So 10 people were on it to carry, right? Each hakafah. So 10 times 7, 70. Every single person who carried the Torah, my father would go over to the Torah, go over to him, kiss the Torah, and wish him a good new year. Every single person. Nearly 70 people. Whatever it was. The idea of that everything's coming, all this excitement really is coming to a close now. We're in the period now. We're right in this. We're in the throes of this exciting of the time. We're in the high holidays. Wow. Well, it will come to an end. Let's not hurry to the end. Let's enjoy it. Capture the moment. Kodak moment. Keep it. Enjoy it. Let's enjoy this. Yom Kippur's coming up. It should be a powerful experience of joy. Sukkot, tremendous experience. Now, what your job is to take those experiences, put them in your pocket, and take them home with you. And let it suffice to nurture you and feed you and grant you nutrition and sustenance for the entire year. Your religious nutrition and sustenance and being able to eat and drink of religiosity throughout the year stems from now. What we put into it now will come out throughout the year. And we hopefully will be blessed with a powerful new year. Ask the Almighty to grant us a brand new year. Grant us a brand new year of success, prosperity, this, that. Forget the physical stuff, forget the material. Grant us a good year of spirituality. Grant us a good year when we can really, really plug into you. We can really grow and achieve and feel the closeness of your presence, and feel the closeness of the Torah, and feel the closeness of observance. That's what I want this year to be. And each year we experience that, we sense that. So that's what we're into right now, and we hope, Mitzvah Shem, that this will continue, as I said. So we look forward to Mitzvah Shem this Sunday to a really special lecture. I hope everyone will come to honor Rabbi Hammer. It's something really special that he's going to present with the IDF. And then again, as I say, right after he's finished at 10:30, we're going to take the special prayer books for Yom Kippur and run right through them from top to bottom. And you'll have a preview to the entire Yom Kippur experience, which of course will occur on Tuesday night. Monday night is our gathering for Tshuva. Everyone really should be there. Make every effort to be there. It's a memorial service for some of the special people that helped make this shul what it is, and what it's become. And we'll also hopefully we'll have the chickens that night as well. Monday 6:45 mincha. Sunday night 9:30 a.m. and Wednesday and Monday night 6:45. Tuesday night is Yom Kippur. Don't ask me where to be. Don't ask me where to go. You got to know that. And then after Yom Kippur is over, for those that do want to come here, please just let me know. We'll give you a place to stay. No food, sorry. No food, sorry. Well, there is a little bit of a break fast at the end of the day. I'd like an interesting thing about Yom Kippur. Last point. Let's say the time is what would be the proper time to blow the shofar? 7:40, let's say, would be the time to end Yom Kippur. Shem Olakim 7 times. Blow the shofar, right? 7:40. You would think people would run right to eat. Nobody's going nowhere. We got another half hour. We got to go to town. We got plenty of time. We got things to do. First of all, we got to dance. After we got to dance, it's a new night. It's a new day. You got to daven Ma'ariv. You have to say the evening service for the 11th of Tishrei. And when we finish Ma'ariv, the moon's waiting for us. We haven't sanctified the moon this year yet. So how can we go to the moon? Yes, sir. And after we finish with the moon, now sanctify the moon, we come back and we see this beautiful table spread with good, delicious food, right? And we're still not eating until we say, Havdalah. Now, we said, Baruch atah Hashem hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol yom. But then again, you're busy because the moment you finish, you ate a little bit to give yourself a little nourishment. You picked up your hammer and your nails and your sticks and started building your sukkah, right? That's what we got to do. So this is a loaded month. I mean, there's no time for anything else but. Tell your business partners, don't call me back in a month. I'm busy. I'm busy. I got no time. Anyway, please try to make it here, Mitzvah Shem, on Sunday morning at 9:30. Please come on time. His time is very, very limited. Please come Monday evening, 6:45, and then Bezrat Hashem after Yom Kippur we will gather again for a Sukkot party on Saturday night, the 29th, and I promise you great eats. And great fun, and a good time, and a real sense of the holiday continuing. Have everyone a great week, good Shabbat, see you Sunday.